All right, listeners, strap in, cause today we're diving deep into a book a lot of you have been asking about, Merchant Magician. And let me tell you, this one's a wild ride.
Really unique premise, I have to say.
Totally. Imagine a fantasy world where, like, the sharpest minds aren't, wielding swords and magic wands. They're wielding spreadsheets and negotiating contracts.
It's like, what if a young Warren Buffett, instead of Wall Street, he's navigating a world of demons and magical markets? Which, surprisingly, has a lot of heart, this book. Didn't expect that.
That's one of the things that grabbed me, too. But it all starts right off the bat with this insane scene, the main character's 23rd birthday party.
Oh, yeah. That opening chapter throws you right into the thick of it.
It's like a crash course in how this world works. You've got real estate tycoons there, all chummy, vying for his dad's attention, super mundane stuff. And then, just casually mixed in, are actual demons making deals.
And not just any demons, right? But demons who, as the author puts it so perfectly, unfortunately don't wear pants.
I mean, come on, you read that line and you know this is not going to be your typical fantasy novel.
Exactly. It's more than just a funny detail, though, right? It hints at something much deeper about how this world functions. Remember when they introduced the mass persuasion spell of 1715?
Oh, right. I'd almost forgotten about that. Suddenly the whole demons in business suits thing makes a whole lot more sense.
It's like this mass spell essentially forced humanity to just accept the supernatural as normal. Demons are just eccentric party guests. Magical creatures are people in costumes. We choose to see it that way.
Wow. Makes you think, what are the mass persuasion spells we've all bought into in our own world?
Right. What are we all collectively agreeing to ignore or accept without question? But yeah, back to our main man. Even surrounded by all this, he's not impressed. He's not some, wide-eyed kid amazed by magic.
He's over it.
Totally. He sees it all as just another system to be gamed. Like he's already a seasoned negotiator, even on his birthday.
Which makes what happens next even more jarring, because his whole world is about to get flipped on its head.
Big time.
Talk about a tough break. One minute he's like the heir to a magical dynasty. The next he's out on his own with, nothing but the clothes on his back.
Complete reset, yeah. No family name, no connections, not even access to magic. It's brutal, but also kind of brilliant how the author sets this up.
Forces him to use his brain, right?
Exactly. It's less about, typical fantasy tropes at this point, and more like a masterclass in negotiation. Every interaction, every deal, it's a lesson.
And it really highlights those real-world economics ideas you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
The BATNA, the sales ladder technique, all that.
Totally. Like, remember that part where he's bartering for food and shelter? He even gets a gig fixing a leaky roof, and he's applying these principles. Even then...
You can practically see the wheels turning in his head, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. He's analyzing every angle, every possible outcome. Which, let's be honest, his BATNA at that point, pretty grim. He has to make good deals. And then, of course, there's that whole leprechaun encounter, one of my favorite parts of the book.
I gotta admit, when I got to that part, I was expecting, like, the classic pot of gold at the end of the rainbow trope.
Oh, yeah, totally. But this author, they flipped the script completely. This leprechaun, he's not about that gold standard.
He's into something way more interesting.
Luck. He deals in luck. But not just, finding a four-leaf clover kind of luck. This is carefully cultivated, concentrated luck.
From what, though? I'm drawing a blank.
He uses objects, things with personal significance. The author describes it as fracturing an object into luck.
Okay, gotta be honest, that whole fracturing thing kind of lost me. How do you fracture an object, like physically break it apart?
It's more of a metaphor, right? But it's about taking something infused with meaning, with memories, with the weight of someone's experiences, and essentially shattering that essence to release its inherent luck.
So the more emotionally significant an object, the more potent the luck it creates.
Exactly. And our protagonist, he gets this instinctively, spends weeks scouring, like flea markets and antique shops, not for valuable items, but for items overflowing with personal history.
Because he understands people.
He's not just bartering for goods, he's like weaving narratives, tapping into that emotional core of what makes something truly valuable to someone.
Man, that is clever. He's playing a whole different game than everyone else in this world. He's using his understanding of human nature as leverage.
Which is both impressive and, knowing what's coming next, a little terrifying.
Because the stakes, they're about to get a whole lot higher.
Oh yeah, way higher. We're talking reality-bending, existence-threatening kind of stakes.
We've been talking about like high-stakes deals, but yeah, things are about to go from fixing a leaky roof to, like, saving all of reality pretty quickly.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And right at the center of it all is, Sheena, the tech whiz.
Right, right. I was wondering when we'd circle back to her.
Well, this is where the personal and the cosmic, they kind of crash into each other. Turns out Sheena's family, they have this really important job keeping this ancient, crazy, powerful entity in check.
Hold on, like a prisoner. Who are we talking about here?
We're talking great old ones level, existential threat kind of stuff, pure Lovecraftian horror. But somehow it works in this story about, negotiation and startups. Wild, right?
It's a lot. And their whole romance thing happening with all this in the background?
Yeah.
Intense.
Definitely not your average relationship drama.
You know what line I loved? When she finally tells him about her family's whole deal, she's just like, and that's why I can't date you. It's funny, but also kind of heartbreaking. Perfect for their situation,
Totally. But our protagonist, he surprises us, doesn't just walk away. Instead, he's off on this global quest thing.
With like a twist, though, right? This isn't some typical hero's journey.
No slaying dragons or anything like that. This is about ancient prophecies and making deals with, get this, angels who love black licorice.
Oh, man, the black licorice thing. Don't even get me started. Like, what was that about?
Who knows? But it's those little details that make the book so fun.
Totally agree. But remember his trip to that dwarven city. That one threw me for a loop.
Oh, yeah. Talk about a culture clash. Forget dragons. The real challenge is navigating their, bureaucracy.
Which he's totally unprepared for.
Right. He's used to wheeling and dealing, but these dwarves, they're all about logic and rules. Remember when he accidentally gets mistaken for a kindergarten teacher?
Oh, man, that was hilarious. But it kind of proves his adaptability, right?
Totally. He learns, figures out the rules of their game, and ends up helping them outsource their entire teacher training program.
Genius. Turns a problem into a business opportunity. Which, when you think about it, that's the whole point of the book, isn't it?
Find the angle, the leverage, even when it involves, pitting ancient beings against each other to save the world.
Oh, right. And then there was that whole thing where he accidentally erases COVID-19. That still blows my mind.
Right. And he doesn't even remember doing it. Crazy. It really makes you think about choices, the impact they have, even when we don't realize it.
Definitely makes you think. So in the end, what's the takeaway?
Well, our guy, he chooses his own path. Walks away from his family, from Sheena, from everything he thought he knew.
That last email to his father, though.
Yeah.
Powerful. He says, I'm proud of what I've done and I want to see what this future holds.
Sums it up perfectly. It's bittersweet, but hopeful too, right?
Totally. And listeners, that's Merchant Magician in a nutshell. A wild ride, but one that'll leave you thinking long after you finish it.
Absolutely.
And that does it for today's deep dive. If you want to read Merchant Magician yourself, and trust me you do, you can find a link in the show notes. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into a book you won't want to miss. Until then, happy reading.